Hi there. Thanks for joining me today for this quick tutorial on how I try to soften the skin while working post-processing on a model shot or any shot of a person. It can be a vacation shot or anything you just like to touch up a little bit. What we're trying to do here is not change completely what the person looks like, but just make them look their best, if you will. So we're going to be doing this in Photoshop, although I've got Lightroom loaded up right now. There's a couple different ways you can do things in Lightroom. Before we get to Photoshop, a quick way that you can touch up, and I guess I can show you this. Quick way you can kind of just soften the skin, because everyone has, just this model is just, gorgeous, but everyone has some imperfections. And something you can do if you're quickly using a Lightroom is to just bring the clarity down on the brush, the adjustment brush right here. And if you start to paint around, you can see how it just completely clears things up. And if you need to put a second layer on just to continue on, you can do that too. But we're going to undo that now. And I'm going to show you in Photoshop how you can accomplish this very quickly. It's the first way I learned how to do this. It's an easy way. It's not possibly the best way, but something that's quick and easy for you if you've never done this before. So we're going to pop this into to Photoshop CS6. You can do this with Photoshop 5, any of the other Photoshops you have. I would assume you can also do it in Photoshop Elements if that's what you're working with. So the picture is now loaded up, and what I'm going to do to start with is, if you've ever worked with the layers panel, that's what makes Photoshop so strong. That's what really separates it from Lightroom, is the ability to really work on layers. And what I like to do is kind of paint in, and I'll show you how it works. So what we're going to start doing is using the background. We're going to drag the background. So I clicked and dragged. And I'm going to drag it to a create new layer. And what this is going to do is make a second copy, as you can see, a second copy of this layer. And then what I'm going to do is go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And this obviously doesn't look right. It's completely blurry. The last thing you want if you're shooting the actual photo is a blurry picture. But what I'm going to do, and you can see if I go really blurry, just all of a sudden lose everything. If I go the other way, it starts to get better. I'm looking for something fairly blurry, something that will kind of just, it makes the skin where you actually have no features. It makes it kind of soften. It makes it look, it gets rid of the imperfections, the little bumps, the little things like that. So I'm going to go okay. Obviously, this is not the result we want. What I'm going to do is hide this top layer by adding a layer mask that is painted black. So what I'm going to do is on my PC keyboard, I think it's Option, don't quote me, I'm not quite sure about the Mac, but I'm going to use the Alt and add in the layer mask. So what that does is reveal the layer underneath and obviously hides the layer on top. If I go undo, you'll see it's still there. And we go back. So this is the bottom layer. It's been untouched. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to work on allowing that upper layer that's been blurred to start to come on top of the lower layer. So I'm going to use my brush. I'm going to start to paint in. You want an opacity that's pretty low. 20% works well. A large brush, 300 pixels is great, depending on the size of the image, of course. And you want a hardness of 0. You want a real soft brush. If it's hard, it's going to really make it difficult for you to paint in and not really hurt some of the other features. You don't want to paint in where you have things like lips, just around the edges of the nose. You want to be careful there. The eyes, things like that. Things that have lines, that have real defined features. You want to stay away from that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start painting in here. And we're going to do this. I'm just clicking slowly, going around. And I'm not going to do a great job here. I'm just going to show you how this works, but you can also already see now, we might be going a little too far here. We can go back and dial it back after the fact. You see already the difference between this side and this side is unbelievable. And see how it quickly just gets rid of the little blemishes, little imperfections in the face. And we continue to paint through here. It's a great little way to add to a photo, to make your mom say, hey, I'm 10 years younger. And then we continue to paint in. There we go. Now this is really pushing it, and I'm not worried about overdoing it here because I'm just trying to show you the technique. But obviously you can dial it back, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Also, the other nice thing is, if you look in here, you can see it's some noise, right? If you paint through, it's still there, but it really, from a distance, it really gets rid of that bit of pixelation, that noise pixelation that you see. So I also find this a little harsh with the makeup here, so you can soften that a little bit. You have to be careful because, of course, there's the eyelashes. You don't want to ruin that, but see how it gets rid of the noise up here? That just makes a huge amount of difference. Now there we go. Okay. Another nice thing is you can go down and work on the neck area, lower if you want. You want to stay away from jewelry, things like that. You don't want to soften that because then all of a sudden it looks blurry. The arm, and so forth. So let's just finish this off here. And then you can see how we can dial it back and how you can apply this to your photography post-production work. All right, so now that we've had that, look, actually, that's not bad. It might be a little bit overdone, obviously, but it's really up to your taste and what you like. But an easy way to dial this back, since it's on a different layer, we can allow the lower layer to actually take over a little bit by dialing back the opacity on this top layer. So let's dial it back to, say, 60%. If you look, this is at about 60% here. And if you look at 100, you see, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a subtle difference. It just gets a little less soft. So let's just go to 50% here. You can see the before and after. Before, after, right? Before, after. Now, the only thing I can say is, you look, now that we've dialed back the opacity, if we put the opacity up to 100%, all of a sudden, it gets rid of all these blemishes. This one here, watch, just disappears, just about completely. There's a little bit here, but nothing too serious. Well, if we find that this is too soft, but we're concerned about the blemishes showing up if we bring the opacity back like this, like so, let's bring it up to 60. Well, the easy way to go fix that is to use your spot healing brush tool or a healing brush tool. And we're going to work on the background layer now, the lower layer, and we're just going to click, and it's going to clear up everything you're concerned about, all these little imperfections that you want to get rid of in the first place. And now you've got much softer skin, the noise is gone, all those little things. And yet, we haven't dialed back that or dialed in that softness to a level that's just, way beyond what we're looking for. Hope you like the tutorial, and I'll be bringing you more. Thanks for joining me on my website, drewhosek.com.